Hey everybody, hope you're having a good evening. I want to talk to you a little bit about drag options for specifically tires and wheels. I realize that most consumers, especially when they first purchase the car, they're probably getting the car on 20-inch wheels, your factory wheels. And so there are some tire options. Now, I'm going to disclaimer that I'm a little bit out of touch on the latest and greatest in 20-inch tire technology because I haven't seen 20-inch wheels in a long time on my car. But in 20-inch options, for the full bolt-on E85 guy, I still love my Michelin. I'm a Michelin guy, and I like the new Pilot Sport 3. I like the MP4S. Those are great tire options that get really good life. They're safe to drive in the rain. They still have good traction. But when you really get much beyond E85 FBO, you're going to just blow those tires off, and they're not really ideal for a big power car, especially once you're exceeding 800 to 1,000 horsepower. And that's where I like to step down into a little bit smaller tire option and wheel option because I haven't found in my own car that at the 20-inch size, traction is where I would like it to be. That's just my personal opinion. You can go to aftermarket 20-inch wheels. You can go to something like a 20 by 12 inch in the rear, and you can run something like the R35 GTR. They make a 325 3020. You can run the 285 3520 in the front. That's if you're going to go to an aftermarket 20-inch option. But if you're making big power, you're probably not going to be running 20s. You're going to step down into a smaller option where you've got more sidewall and you're going to get more traction. So for that, if you're looking for, and I will just throw it out there, if you're looking for just the least expensive option that you can possibly do, and you're looking for something that will have traction at about the 1,000 horsepower mark, I do like to run on the factory wheels and tires. I have done some customer cars. I've suggested them run the R888R in a square setup on a 285 3520. The R888R, some guys love it. A lot of other platforms run it at really big power. For me, I have found that I can still spin them pretty good. What I do like to use the R888R in a 20-inch for is half mile. If you're looking at a half mile, race setup, 20-inch wheels, they feel real stable up top. I think the R888R is probably one of the best tires out there for like high speed, super high speed races. And so if I was running a half mile, that tire would definitely be high up on my list. But if I'm looking for more of like that low roll, I want traction, especially for like drag racing on the street, then I think there are a little bit better options that exist. So let's talk a little about those. As you step down into something like an 18-inch option, which is what we're coming out with in this next year, my favorite tire is probably the the Mickey Thompson ETSS. And they make the perfect setup for the GTR, in particular for our wheel combination. And they run a 275 in the front, and they've got a 345 in the rear. They are according to the manufacturer, they are the same OD front and rear. So you don't have any kind of problems with your ETS unit, because we all know if you mismatch those tires and you have a mismatch in tire height, front and rear, the ETS unit can be very unforgiving, and you can be rebuilding that pretty quickly. And it's a pretty expensive repair. So try to keep your front and rear tires as absolutely close as possible tire height wise. You can look online, you can get a tire height calculator and run kind of an estimate. I will tell you that it's kind of tricky because sometimes the manufacturer's numbers are not exactly what they measure when you get the tires in. So I would definitely measure them out when you get them just to make sure that everything is as the manufacturer says for their specifications. But you do want to keep that front and rear tire height as close as possible. So in an 18-inch option, I really do like, you got two good options. You've got M&H tires, and you've got Mickey Thompson. I do prefer Mickey Thompson. I think that they are a more streetable tire. The M&H to me is more of like a dedicated drag strip type compound, and they wear really fast compared to the Mickeys. I find that the Mickeys are the better street tire. I can get pretty good wear out of those on the street setup. And I've run that setup making 4-digit power, and I've been really happy with it in 18-inch. Now, when you step down into anything 17 and below, the price is going to get pretty expensive. And 17-inch, to run a 17-inch wheel option, that will fit behind factory brakes in the rear. The issue with that 17-inch rear option is that you're going to have to step in a multi-piece wheel. You cannot cast You can't do an inexpensive, like low pressure gravity cast wheel. You can't do a flow forming wheel. You're going to step into a custom multi-piece wheel setup in order to get something that will actually is made to specifically clear the barrel clearance of the factory rear GTR brakes, and they are expensive. I can tell you that we are coming out with a wheel option very soon in 17-inch that'll bolt right up in the rear, and just a pair of two wheels is more expensive than what we will sell 4 of our flow forming 18-inch drag wheels in. So it's a pretty expensive setup. The one perk of that 17-inch in the rear is you can run the Mickey Thompson ET Street R, which is my favorite tire option. I went 7s on that tire, so I've gone low 260 foot on that tire. So I'm a big fan of that drag radial. It feels extremely stable. Done a lot of roll racing on it. Done a lot of national events on that tire all across the country, and I'm a big fan of that ET Street R compound. And you can get that in a 17-inch. We typically run it in a 17x10. It's a 305 45 17, and I really, really, really like that tire. But it is expensive. The wheels alone are going to be $1,750 a pair or something like that. And that's not much. I mean, most of the aftermarket, wheel options that are out there in 17-inch in the rear, you can easily spend, anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500 on just the rear wheels. That's not including the tires. So you can spend some real money going to that rear 17, but it is a nice setup. And if the budget allows, I do like that ET Street R, particularly in the rear. And, these cars really are rear biased. If you're not getting traction in the rear, it doesn't matter what tire you have in the front. They are pretty rear biased. So you want to have the most, stickiest tire you possibly can, particularly in the rear. And then from 17, really that's the only tire that I particularly like. You can run something like a Hoosier Slick. I'm not a big fan of running slicks on the street. That's just me. I don't like the way they float. I've now tried both the Hoosier Slick. I've also tried the ET Street R. I've gone faster on the ET Street R in the quarter mile. It's unbelievably stable at speed. It doesn't have that floaty tight feel. So I really like that particular tire in a 17. I'm kind of out on slicks. I'm just not a big fan of it, particularly for a car that's using both street and strip use. And your budget really only allows you to do, one wheel and tire combo. So in that 17, definitely if you're going to run the 17-inch, particularly, that rear 17, the ET Street R 305 45 17 is my favorite tire out there. And then when you step into a 15-inch, now you're going to do a brake conversion. So you're going to spend even more money. Now you got the wheels, you got to do the rear brake conversion. I will say this one thing that I will give a little bit of a kudos. When I first did the 15-inch setup, and I told people I was going to be running it on the street, I had some people tell me, "Oh man, you're going to have a chute on the back of that thing. I mean, it's never going to slow down." I will tell you that that's not been an issue to me. I've used that particular, I've used the 15-inch setup now. I use the same tire. I use the ET Street R. They make a 15-inch. It's a 325 50 15. I think I'd have to double check that, but they make a 15-inch setup that's 28 inches tall, and that tire is amazing. So whether you run it in a 15 or you run it in a 17, I really like that particular tire option. I'm trying to get away from slicks. I'm pretty much out of slicks on this platform. I don't think you need them. I think you can go just as fast. I think 99% of consumers out there are going to go just as fast on that drag rail as they are on an aftermarket slick, and I think it's going to be much safer and more stable at speed. I will say that the 15-inch option, it does have a little bit more of a float, kind of like the Hoosier Slick does. That's just what I find. I ran the roll race on it at Texas 2K last year, and it was fine. It did fine, but I did feel like the 17-inch felt more stable, and I really didn't notice, me personally, at 1,500 horsepower, I didn't really notice a traction difference. So I felt like the 17 to me for roll racing, if I was looking for just like a roll race setup, I actually kind of like that 17. Even if you have the small brake conversion just to cut weight on the back, or if when you want to go to the drag strip, if you want to throw 15s on for the drag strip, that's fine. But for roll racing in particular, I really like the 17, at least on my car. So I do like that ET Street R tire. But if you go to the 15-inch, you do have to do the brake conversion. You're going to spend a lot of money there. So if you're looking for bang for the buck, if you want the most affordable and you want a wheel and tire that's going to match front and back, and it's not going to break the bank, really that 18 inch is kind of the sweet spot. That's why we're coming out with our, our wheel and tire, or our wheel package, an 18 inch, because it's kind of the sweet spot of tire prices. The wheels are going to be very affordable. Like I said, you can get, a set of 4 wheels for what you're going to get probably 2 17s for. So you can complete the look. You see a lot of guys out there that are on 17s and they're running mismatched wheels. They'll buy just the rears. And then maybe they're using their factory 20-inch fronts. And that's not really ideal because those are pretty heavy. So it's better than nothing though. And if you're a sub 1,000 horsepower guy, hey, set of rear 17-inch drag radials works great. But what I'm getting at is, if you want the performance and the look, you can get there going the 18-inch setup. So that's kind of the sweet spot, I think. The 20-inch setup is great if you just want the absolute cheapest thing you can find, and you're just going to bolt some tires on your stock wheels. But the trade-off there is that some of the really sticky tire options are not going to be great in the rain. So if this is your daily driver, you got to kind of contemplate that. You got to think about that. It may not be a great option to get caught in the downpour with. So for me, me personally, this is just me, I've got the budget for it, and I understand everybody's situation is different. But for me, me personally, if it was my money, I'm going to keep my 20-inch setup as my daily driver, my street tire setup. I'm going to run probably a Michelin tire. That's going to be my get around town tire. And then just from a budget standpoint, our wheels, our 18-inch wheels are going to retail under $2,000 a set, probably quite a bit less than that once they actually land. And it's going to be very affordable. So to me, that's kind of like the great strip, like street strip, like roll race Saturday night, play on the street tire. And like I said, that you've got some great tire options from both M&H and Mickey, depending upon who you like. Both of them offer options. I'm just more of a Mickey Thompson fan. So hopefully this answers some of the questions that you have. I have filled in a lot of questions about wheel and tire options, what's available, what's affordable, what can I do, bang for the buck. And I think those are great options for you. And like I said, if you have no budget, man, if you can just cut a check, then, do the small brake conversion, whether you do the 15-inch wheel in the rear or the 17, do the small brake conversion. You're going to cut, that rolling mass. It does make a difference. And that would allow you to run some even more aggressive options, especially if you're going to drag race. You can get something like a really thick sidewall and a 15-inch wheel. Like I said, on that setup, I've cut, a low 1-2 on a drag radial. And I use that exact same setup, roll racing on Saturday night out on the highway. So it's a great, option that's kind of, best of both worlds. So hope that answers some of the questions that you have. I would love to hear your feedback. I'm curious what you use, what you like. So leave your comments below, and let's catch up soon. Thanks.